What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about 6 reasons not to hire a property management company. That's right, 6. I tried to make the list shorter. I just couldn't do it and kept thinking of more reasons not to hire one. I've been buying and renting out properties for over 14 years here in Oklahoma, and I'm actually a real estate broker for the past 2 years. I've hired property management companies, fired property management companies.
You're fired.
And done the property management myself. Overall, I'd recommend not hiring a property management company, and I'll explain why next. Now, my lawyer does say I must tell you that this is for entertainment purposes only and from my own experiences, not anybody else's. Be sure to have your attorney look over any documents from a property manager prior to signing. So the number one reason not to hire a property manager is they're going to upcharge you for repairs. What do I mean by that? They're going to upcharge you between 10 and 20%, depending on your contract, just for them to call and have a tradesman come out to your property.
That's expensive.
Now, if it's like a $100 repair, that's only $10, $20, not a big deal. But when you get up into the, $2,000 repairs, that's $200. $1,000 repair, $100. That's going to add up over time. And it's not really that hard to call a tradesman and have them come out there. So to me, that's a ripoff. And the number one reason I wouldn't hire a property manager, I'd rather just do it myself. And how do you even know they're being honest about it? What if they charge you more and you just are none the wiser? You'll never know. Now, are most property management companies trustworthy? Yes, but there are some bad ones, and I've experienced some bad ones. So be on the lookout for that. Reason number 2 not to hire a property management company is that the tradesmen that they hire, if they don't have in-house tradesmen, which most of them don't, they usually hire it out, and they hire people that are pretty expensive. And it goes back to point number 1. I mean, the more they charge you, the more percentage they can tack onto that and make money. And we all know you can only get 2 out of 3 things: good, fast, or cheap. And they happen to choose good and fast, so it's not cheap. Me personally, if I'm the one hiring the tradesman for my property, I like good and cheap, not necessarily fast. If they're going to take 4 or 5 days to get to it, but it saves me $500, it's definitely worth it for me. But I mean, I get why a property management company wouldn't do that. They have hundreds of repairs every week. They need somebody good and fast and not cheap that they can trust and they can get it done. But it's going to end up costing me more money. A lot of times too, they have their favorite workers they've always used, their favorite tradesmen. They might have done a good job for them in the past, but they may charge way too much. I don't just want one opinion. I want 2 or 3 people's opinion. That way I know for sure that that's what the problem is. And additionally, I can get the best deal out of that if everybody knows they're bidding against each other.
Bidding's good. I like bidding.
If they're just one person, he can just bid whatever he wants and knows that the property management company is going to accept it. That's kind of messed up if you ask me. I want 3 separate bids, at least. Also, when you self-manage, you can go over to the property once the repair is done and make sure they use good materials, make sure they did a good job. Whereas if you hire a property management company, you're not actually allowed to go over to that property to not disturb the tenants. They don't know you. So it makes sense, but you can't vouch for good work being done. You can't vouch for good materials. So that's a big reason to self-manage. Reason number 3 not to hire a property management company is they're going to charge you between 8 and 10% every month that they're going to take from your rent that's going to go to them as their payment for, renting out your property. That adds up over time. And in today's market where the margins are, 5 to 10% anyways, you're giving away all your profits. So it's not worth it. I'd rather keep that money in my pocket, put it in the S&P 500. The annual return on the S&P 500 is 10.54%. So say you have a property management company and you're paying that fee over 10 years, you could have put it in the S&P 500 and made around $20,000.
As a rich man, I have much more money than you.
I'd rather have that $20,000 in my pocket than give it to a property management company. And for the 10% fee or 8% or 12% or whatever you're paying, you'd expect them to answer your calls anytime you call, between 8 and 5 during the day. I'm not saying call them after hours and expect them to answer, but during normal business hours, I'd expect them to answer my call. But a lot of times they don't answer calls. It takes forever for them to call you back. You call and they don't know, what you're talking about because the person who handles your account isn't there. And it just gets pretty annoying over time. Reason number 4 not to hire a property management company is they'll never screen the tenants as well as you would. I mean, they may be looking for a 600 credit score, a certain income for the amount the rent is, no felonies going back a certain amount of years. But what they don't account for is the vibe you get from the person. If they meet the qualifications on paper, they're just going to automatically, put that person in your house. When I'm actually scouting tenants, I like to feel the vibe. Now, I've never had to evict someone from my properties, and I've had 3 evictions with property management companies because they'll just put anyone in there that meets the requirements on paper. They don't, think about the vibe they're giving off or anything like that. There's also things that I like to go above and beyond what a property management company would do. I'll tell you a trick. Deliver the rental application in person. That way you can go to their house where they're at right now and see if it's, messy, how they treat it. After you give them the application, their car is usually parked outside. You can see if their car is messy. If their house is messy and their car is messy, they're not going to treat your property very good. You have way more flexibility when you're self-managing your property. Another tip, always ask for 2 references from previous landlords. What a lot of tenants will do, or try to do though, is give you a phone number of their friend. You call and their friend will say, yeah, they're a great tenant, blah, blah, blah. So before calling the reference, I recommend going to the county assessor, seeing who the owner of that property is, and make sure that the name that they give you is the name of the property owner. Now, this isn't foolproof. They could say that their friend is, so-and-so owner, but it works a lot. And actually ask questions that only a landlord would know. If it's their friend, they're not going to know how to correctly answer these. Now, you may ask, what if it's an LLC? How do I know that the person I'm talking to owns an LLC? In Oklahoma, you can go to the Secretary of State, look up that LLC, and it'll usually tell you who the registered agent is, and that's who the owner is. I'm not sure how it is in every other state, but I'm sure there's a similar process. Now, you do have to be careful here. You can't just not rent to someone because of, protected classes such as race, religion, sex, familial status, disability, things like that. Reason number 5 is they're going to make it nearly impossible to get out of your contract with them. Let me explain. So the first clause they put in their contract is that the tenant has to move out before you can end your contract with them. And if you do keep the tenant in that property and you manage it yourself, they expect you to keep paying, the 10% management fee, even though they have nothing to do with the property anymore. But that's what you agreed to when you originally signed up with them. Additionally, they're not going to let you out of your property management contract with them until that ends. So you've got to have the tenant moved out and the end of your property management agreement taking place simultaneously in order to get out of the contract, which makes it near impossible to get out of your contract with them. Now, what if you want to sell your property to the tenant that's in there? They've thought of that too. You can only use them as your realtor, with them getting 6% of the sale if you decide to sell your property to them, to the tenant. Now, reason number 6 is hidden fees. They're, for one, usually going to have a biannual inspection of your home. This inspection is usually going to cost you between $75 and $100. And they'll play it both ways, where they'll make it seem like it's something the owner wants and it's something that's beneficial to the tenant. They'll tell the tenant, this is your chance to show us everything that's wrong with the property. And they'll tell the owner, we're making sure that no pets are in the property. There's not any damage from the tenant. And a lot of times this biannual inspection is just hidden in your contract, the huge contract that you signed at the beginning of all this. And they'll send it on an email a couple days before, let us know if you don't want the annual inspection or biannual inspection to happen. If you don't email back that I don't want it, then they're just going to do it and charge you the $100. Another hidden fee is a lot of them charge you vacant fees. If no one is in your property for a few months, they're going to still charge you every month some type of fee for quote unquote management fees. To me, that's ridiculous. They're making money off not finding someone good to put in your property. Yeah, I just can't take that kind of stuff. Then there's tenant placement fee, which is 1/2 a month's rent. So if you charge, $1,000 for your place, they're getting $500 of that the first month. So it's not really 10% that you're paying to the company. It's way over that once you get into all the hidden fees. That wraps up today's video. Thanks for sticking with me. If you're looking for a real estate coach or a realtor in the Oklahoma City metro area, feel free to send me a message or give me a call. It's in my bio. I hope that you can learn from my successes and my failures. That's it for now. I'll see you on the next one.